All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Lake County. I'm your host David Rich. I have a third-time recurring guest here and a multiple frequent occurring guest on other shows. Jennifer Banek, Lake County Coroner. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hey, I am very well, David. Thanks for having
Good.
me.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. All right, well let's start with the Vista thing because that is something that you really spearheaded that whole effort to expose them for all the shenanigans that were going on at the time, and you succeeded in that effort. So why don't you give us an update on what's going on? Or give us the background first. Give us the background first. Sorry.
So it's been almost exactly a year ago. By my professional training, I'm a certified registered nurse anesthetist or nurse anesthesiologist, which means that I put patients or clients to sleep for procedures or surgery. And so I am the full-time Lake County coroner, but I still do practice clinically, putting patients to sleep. And so I worked on a very part-time basis over at Vista Medical Center, which is located in Waukegan, which services, frankly, the most densely populated area in Lake County, which is Waukegan, North Chicago, Zion. So a very, very necessary. Those communities really need a hospital facility. And so I started working there about 2 years before that. And I think that the community would, I think collectively the community would say this as well, that in more recent memory, especially, there have been some increasing concerns about the care that folks have received. But I would say that in the end of 2023 and especially the beginning of 2024, I became especially concerned about the care that patients were receiving. And so I had written a letter to a board member, and that letter was ultimately leaked to the press, and it resulted in Vista losing its level 2 trauma status for about 5 weeks. And so that carries us through about March of 2024. And I will say that not of my own volition, but I no longer work at Vista. And that also that happened in about February of 2024 when the news article was released. And so I would say that the advent of the problems really began with a new company that came in called American Healthcare Systems. And Vista is the only for-profit hospital in Lake County, and that is an important distinction. When a hospital is a for-profit hospital, there's I would say two main things that make it very different than other hospitals. Number one, they do pay taxes. They do pay property taxes, which the other hospitals like Condell and Lake Forest and Highland Park and City of Hope, they do not pay property taxes. The other important distinction is that there is no transparency regarding their financials. They are not obliged to fill out what's called a Form 990, whereas for those other hospitals that I mentioned, you can actually anybody can see their Form 990, and you can see like how much their CEO and their operational expenses and things like that. So those are some pretty big distinctions. I would say so there's for-profit, not for profit. And then I would say another kind of hospital is a nonprofit, which we don't have any of those in Lake County, but they're much more unusual or rare, and that would be like a Cook County hospital or like a Stroger hospital, where the county actually runs the facility. So anyway, so fast forward, they lost their level 2. That was something that was revoked by the Illinois Department of Public Health. So that, I wrote my complaint letter. It was leaked to the press. Those complaints were voiced to the Illinois Department of Public Health. The Illinois Department of Public Health went in, and they also found concerns. And those main concerns were there was not a urology specialty on staff. There were not enough anesthesia personnel. There were not blood products, and there were some critical missing components to the ED department. I think there was not an operational budget, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the issue. There were 4 main issues why the level 2. So that was all Illinois Department of Public Health found those issues. So some level of compliance must have been met after those 5 weeks, and the level 2 indeed was restored. I had been, however, I mentioned the tax situation, the difference between for-profit and not for profit. And I had been watching, you can see you can go to the county treasurer and you can look up tax statuses. And so I had gone to look to see if this for-profit entity, Vista, if they had actually paid the taxes, because they're supposed to, right, as a for-profit entity. And you usually pay your taxes in 2 installments. And so I noticed, and you pay your taxes in the arrears, so it would be for 2023. And I noticed that they hadn't paid their first installment, and then I noticed in September they hadn't paid their second installment. And so indeed, and just so that there's some numbers that are dollar figures that are put to that, they have indeed not paid about $1 million in their taxes, which would go to the city of Waukegan. Yeah. So those would go to things like schools. Right. So it's a little bit of irony, right, that they are a for-profit entity, but they are reaping the benefit of not paying the property taxes that they're obliged to pay, right, by definition of
tax
of the definition of how they were defining themselves as a business entity.
Oh, I see. Right. Yes.
So the other thing, most recently, an email was given to me by an employee that said that they were furloughing staff. And so I believe that a recent news article, and this has come out within the last 2 or 3 weeks, that they have furloughed 69 staff members. They were non-clinical staff members. So they are indeed laying folks off, and they are hoping to get what's called from the state of Illinois a safety net designation. A safety net designation, I am not a subject matter expert in this area, but it has to do with your payer mix, what kind of insurance the clients that you're seeing at your facility have. So they are hoping to get, it would be like a state subsidy. While I think that, and I need to underscore and emphasize this, I absolutely think that the community needs this healthcare facility and deserves it, and certainly deserves better treatment than they're receiving. I have serious concerns about them receiving state money and not having any requirement or obligation to be transparent about where that state money is being spent. I think that there's probably still some more shenanigans, as you called them, that are yet to be seen. But somebody had posted on my social media, what can be done? And I think that, Vista, if you talk to people that are from the area, they will talk about Vista, I believe what it was called, Victory. And they will speak very highly about the care. And, there's still people that work at that hospital that worked, way back when, and are very proud of the care that they continue to give despite what's going on at the top. But, you can't get blood from a turnip, right? If you don't have the resources at your you can't take care of patients. You can't clean rooms if you don't have the cleaning supplies and things like that are necessary to do so, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person that asked me what can we do, I think that it should be a not-for-profit hospital. I think that they should get safety net status. I think that we need to see where that money is going. I think it's important to note that as a not-for-profit hospital, they would no longer be obliged to pay taxes. So that would be a loss. And to the city of Waukegan, who, that would be a vacuum that would be created. So I think it's important to be transparent in the solution that I'm proposing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a hospital. It's first and foremost function and property and is to be a hospital, not to necessarily pay for Waukegan schools. I mean, that's a perk. But and there's always other ways of getting money. So anyway, it closed down for a little bit, didn't it, or no?
It didn't close down. Just the level 2 status, which meant that then ambulances had to bypass.
That's it. Okay. So I was talking to somebody last night who said that I was telling them about this and about you coming on the show. They might actually be watching right now. She's like, oh, that explains why, I remember going to the Lake Forest Hospital and there was like, well, I'd say like, they had 100 beds and they had like 300 people to serve because some hospital in Waukegan wasn't taking anybody through the air. I'm like, yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. I didn't know for sure, but that certainly would explain it. Which is just an unforeseen implication of like, again, the shenanigans and the effects of it, and the accountability towards it is like now all of a sudden these other hospitals are getting overloaded because you can't take anybody because you screwed up and did something stupid. And the Lake Forest Hospital, she was saying, was sending like people to like Chicago hospitals because they couldn't handle it. I'm like, that's a nightmare. That's like a logistical nightmare. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Private equity, in my opinion, has no business in healthcare, and I think we're really at a crossroads. And we're seeing that personified in our news. We saw that. I mean, really tragic, right? With the incident with the insurance CEO and. But people are healthcare is expensive, and we need to find better solutions.
No, our system is awful. Like that, I think that might be the next bubble that burst. Like we had the mortgage bubble in 2006, right? Whatever it was. I mean, it's dumb. Anyways, it's really disproportionate and just fiscally and all sorts of other ways, just inefficient. And it's pretty bad. Oh, we'll see what it might take the bubble to burst for people to pay attention at the top there. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, they're functioning as wholly as a hospital. Again,
as of right now, they're functioning wholly as a hospital.
Okay.
Yep, I have a feeling. I have a feeling there's more to say about that. I will suggest. I have a Facebook page that's called Community Members Concerned About Vista Medical Center. And so if you have, I really try to keep folks up to date. I have some other things cooking, but I don't want to say, I'm really a big fan about not saying anything until I've got the receipts, so to speak.
Oh, no. That's very responsible. That's how it should be. You don't.
Yeah. So, if folks want to continue to stay posted about it. I just got a message that said Vista has a group here at City Council tonight. That's at the Waukegan City Council. So that should be interesting.
Are they talking about Vista, or is this just some sort of conglomerate about something else?
I suspect they will be.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's it. Well, Jennifer, I mean, we can always have you back on to update us later when you have your receipts. Cool.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I need to put my shoes on and
Head over there.
head on up. Um,
You want to do that? You want to just tell us real quick about some of the events you posted on, and then you can
oh, no,
skedaddle
yeah.
over there?
I think I still have a little bit of time.
Okay.
Yeah, I still got time to talk to you about the other stuff.
Okay.
I think you were talking about CRNA week.
Right.
Um, I asked if I should head over there, and she said no.
She said no.
She said no.
Oh, okay.
So CRNA week is CRNA stands for Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist. And sometimes you might hear people call or say nurse anesthesiologist. It's the same thing, but it's not. Sometimes people think it's a CNA, and that it definitely is not. A CRNA is an advanced practice nurse. I have my master's degree. Actually, every CRNA now, however, has a doctoral degree. They have likely a DN degree. They might have a PhD. That's possible too, but they do have a terminal degree. So we're an advanced practice nurse, and what our job is to, as I mentioned in the beginning of your show, is to take care of patients during surgery. So we assess the patient beforehand, during the procedure, and then after the procedure. And so when you think about, we are all by training registered nurses to begin with. When you think about a registered nurse as a bedside nurse, you think of a registered nurse probably taking care of a number of patients on a floor at a hospital. As a CRNA, we take care of one patient in the operating room who's having that procedure. So it's a real privilege. I have to say, I actually love administering anesthesia. And you'll find us in all kinds of care settings, in ambulatory surgery centers, doctors' offices, operating, taking care of itty bitty babies. We place epidurals, we do cesarean sections, we do cardiac surgeries, all the way to, people who are centurions, 100 years old, the whole lifespan. So this is a week to honor my colleagues. We've been administering anesthesia. We were the very first anesthesia providers since the Civil War. And sometimes people, I know. It actually, people sometimes wonder what the difference is between our physician anesthesiologist colleagues. The specialty of physician anesthesia didn't start until around the 1950s. So we were really, like I said, the first providers of anesthesia. There's just under, I believe, 70,000 of us across the country. We deliver, I think, 58 million anesthetics a year.
Wow.
Yep. And we're the primary deliverers of anesthesia in rural areas, 80% of anesthetics. We are the foremost providers of anesthesia on the front lines in the military. I serve in the military and in the Army. So it's really an opportunity to recognize the hard work that my colleagues do. I sit on the board of directors for the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology, which is really an honor. So that's what CRNA week is.
That's very cool. Good for you. All of you. That's very cool. It's important to draw notice to these things that are so important in our society that we don't even know that exists sometimes.
Well, and what I will also say is just kind of even in talking about what we were talking about with Vista, CRNAs are actually a very affordable way to improve access to anesthesia healthcare. So we work to really reduce barriers in terms of practice barriers. Sometimes there's barriers at the state and the federal level. We'll talk a little, nursing tended to be primarily dominated by women, and medicine was by men. And women tend to get the short end of the stick, and it's the same is true in our laws. And so somehow giving there's this perception that an anesthetic administered by a nurse anesthetist is different than anesthesia administered by a physician anesthesiologist. That's simply not true. In fact, we're very safe providers. There's no difference in the morbidity mortality. So we are excellent providers of anesthesia and really help improving access to anesthesia care. So
that's very cool. Good for you. That's awesome. What is anesthesia made of? Like, what is it in there that conks you out or numbs the area or whatever it does?
Well, it all depends on what you're having done. But I guess the short answer is I tell people it's like a cocktail. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So there's not really just one component to the anesthetic.
Well, I mean, I've had cocktails numb me many a times, but okay, that's good. I think you're talking about a different thing now. Okay, very cool. Do you want to give us a quick update on what's going on in the coroner's office?
What's going on in the coroner's office?
Did a 24-year-old just die in Mundelein from getting hit by a truck?
It was a collision between her motor vehicle and a semi, yes.
Oh my God, that's awful. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
24.
Yeah. So at the coroner's office, we are looking to, we had, the county has money from a class action lawsuit to help. So that was from Purdue Pharma. So approximately the county receives, if I am dusting off the cobwebs and the math in my head correctly, $218,000 a year for 18 years. That's what the math is if you parse it out, but we've actually received some of those funds kind of already up front. So we have a kind of a bulk of that money already. It's very nice. It's honestly a spit in the bucket compared to what we really need to remediate this problem. But we had an excellent opioid. One of the things that we decided to do was hire somebody that we call the opioid coordinator, who is helping to really do a deep dive in all of the requests and know what resources we already have so that we can spend the money wisely. So we had somebody that was in that position who was excellent. And unfortunately, she resigned all on good terms. However, we got to find somebody else. We got to get that money out. And so I'm on the interview committee to help select the new candidates. So we have 5 new folks that I'll be interviewing. So I'm excited to do that. We had about, I think we budgeted to try to source out about $500,000 in of that money that I mentioned to you. So the grant applications have come in, and we've, I think, gotten about $900,000 worth of requests. So now we need to go through those requests and figure out which ones we're going to accept and how we're going to divvy that money up. So I'm also on that committee. I know those don't sound really coroner-like, maybe, but that is, I actually have deputies that go out to the scenes and do a lot of the death investigation work. I see my job as kind of being involved in the policy making and trying to do the prevention part. That's where I have my hands involved in. So,
yeah, I mean, as the head of the elected official of the office, I mean, it's, you're kind of more on the administrative level than you are as much as the hands-on and stuff like that. But like, you're still the only person in Lake County that can actually arrest the Lake County sheriff, which I just think is so wild.
Right. So far, I haven't put the sheriff in.
No, you haven't put John in jail yet. He's a good guy. Probably no need to. He's done a lot of good. So I hear. So yeah, I remember I think it was your predecessor told me that. I was like, what? Why? That's weird. Yeah. But okay. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, $200,000 is nothing to scoff at. I get like with your budget and all your expenses. Like you said, it's a spit in the bucket, but it's extra $200,000. Do you ever feel like daunted or overwhelmed by like the amount of money that you deal with. I always put like at the federal level, like Congress, oh, we're gonna send like Israel $10 billion. I'm like, who writes that check? That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, well, we have to take it all seriously, right?
Sure. Are you gonna go to that thing? Somebody
I
wants
know.
you to.
No.
Somebody's trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah, somebody's trying to get a hold of me. I'm not gonna out this person. But yeah.
Well, okay. I think we've talked about everything I wanted to talk about, so that's cool. So I'll let you go.
All right.
And but yeah, let's have you back on and give us an update about Vista and everything else that's going on. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jennifer Banek, Lake County Coroner. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Lake County. See you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Bye.